people I work as an art therapist, the typical response that I get is, "What is that? What do you do? Do you provide coloring books activity?" You must be familiar with coloring books, as you can easily find them in online and offline bookstores. May I know who have ever used coloring books? Thank you for raising your hands. Okay, a lot of people use this, but a lot of people also mistaken this as the same as art therapy. Well, what are coloring books actually? Coloring books are pre-drawn images that invite people to color in with markers, crayons, color pencils. And the goals of coloring books are to provide leisure activities. It can be therapeutic, it can be fun for some people, but I would say that it's not for everyone. Why would I say that? Well, art therapists believe that people who are anxious are not recommended to do coloring books because of its very rigid and structured activity. That you need to color inside the lines, that there's a certain boundary, and there's limit in creativity. So although some coloring books put art therapy as part of their title, please be mindful that coloring books are not art therapy. Coloring books are fun activity that you do, just like when you do Sudoku or crossword puzzle. And art therapists also often get this misconception that I can interpret or read or judge someone's artworks just by looking at it. So some people expect that when they show me their art, I can tell their personality or the things that they've been through. But that's not true. That's not what art therapy is. So art therapy does not go like, "Oh, your painting is in red. You must be in anger." Or, "You only draw one person in your painting. That must indicate that you are a lonely person." Well, no. Art therapist does not process information that way. You've heard a phrase that a picture tells 1,000 words. And those words, those stories are not up for the therapist to tell. It's the makers, it's the clients, it's your privilege to share your side of story. And art therapist is also not psychologists. We are a distinct mental health professionals with master degree training. So we are not psychologists. We are different from them, but we work together with them, with psychiatrists, and with other social workers. And the other misconception that art therapy has, that it's often thought as the same as just art education. That going to art therapy is like going to an art tuition, but that is also not correct. Before being a therapist, I was also trained in fine arts, so I can tell the differences. In fine arts, in art education, you are being taught on how to develop artistic skills, how to make good composition, how to make portraits, how to make landscapes. But in art therapy, you do not even need to have previous experience in art to be involved in the therapy. Because what matters is how the client expresses himself, how he makes sense of his art, and how he finds connections between his art and his inner life. And the goal of the therapy, the goal of art therapy, is to provide support, is to give support for people who has challenges in meeting their developmental, emotional, social, behavioral in their everyday lives. So what is art therapy exactly? Art therapy combines two big disciplines, art and therapy. Art and psychology. We are familiar with psychotherapy that uses verbal means as way to communicate between the therapist and the client. You talk in the sessions. But in art therapy or art psychotherapy, the focus is in the use of visual arts as a means for expression and communication. And we also look into the creative process and also the relationship that is built between the therapist, the client, and the artworks. So how does it work, actually? So the clients are normally asked to give their feelings and thoughts and make them into forms. So let's try this. If I were to ask you to give your feelings some forms, how do they look like? How does your happiness look like? How does your anger look like? How does your fear look like? Visual image making makes a good tool because words can be hard to find. Words can be hard to tell, even more when you have unpleasant experience, or when you are traumatized by some event, or when you are overwhelmed by grief, for example. When you can't express your loss in words. Or when a child can't talk about his parents' divorce, or even understand what divorce means. How do they process all of these complicated feelings they have inside them? If they can't find words to explain, they can illustrate it in drawing or in painting. Or when someone needs to release his anger, not by hurting people, not by destroying materials, but through colors and strokes. And art also gives the client freedom to share stories in their own way. If it's too scary to talk about an abuser, a bully at school, or to talk about a sickness that they are fighting with, they can illustrate them in forms of monsters, objects, or animals that they can relate to. And the use of these metaphors and symbols really help them to share their stories. And many people actually find relief in the sessions, that they can choose to be quiet but still able to channel their feelings in a safe and productive manner. When you express yourself, there is a good release. And in art form, you can see your problem, you can touch your problem. So you have the chance to contemplate, reflect, and find ways to cope with it. And growth and healing comes when the clients uncover new coping skills. This bully, this monster that has been bugging me, I want to fight it. I won't let it control me anymore because I'm important too. Or when she realizes that she has been in a depression hole for quite some time, she needs to get out of it and reconnect with her loved ones. Or when he finally realizes that self-harming is not one way to cope when we have problems, when he finally can feel more self-worthy and can love himself. And we can really see the client's investment in therapy by looking at the way they put effort into their artwork, how they treat their artworks. Do they feel the need to keep on erasing the works and have to do it over and over and over again? Do they feel dissatisfied with his own creation? Does he has this same feeling outside therapy too? Is this how he functions in everyday lives? Feeling hopeless, feeling useless? Or does this person when making his art can feel the satisfaction, feels proud of his accomplishments. So these are some of the things that art therapists see in the sessions. So art therapist does not interpret or judge. We facilitate the creative process, we give tools for expression, we provide unconditional listening, we give a safe environment, and we give guidance for reflection so that change can happen. And other than seeing the clients, I also work very closely with their support systems. And let's not forget about them. There are parents who feel frustrated with their children. There are siblings who feel helpless or have to grow up faster because they have to take care of the family. Or there are children who feel trapped by their parents' argument. So they are too invited in the sessions so that they can work on their relationship and to reconnect again. Throughout our practice, we see that our clients base, more than 60%, is children. And they show most concerns in developmental, behavioral, and emotional problems. And many adolescents struggles with depression, self-harming, having suicidal thought. And in adults 21 years above, many suffers from mental illness, such as having mood or personality disorders. From the data, we can see that mental health concern can happen to anyone at any age. And perhaps there is still a stigma that people who are involved in art, in play, in creative process is only children. But that's wrong. Art therapy can be done from toddler to elderly, with various concerns ranging from developmental to medical condition. And it can be done individually, in groups, or in couple. And art therapy is one of the many available therapies out there. Our method may be different, but our goal is the same: to have a more fulfilling life, to have a good mental health. And a good mental health means that the developmental, the emotional, the social milestones are being met, and that we know how to cope with problems when we have them. And mentally good people can function positively at home, at work, at school, and in the society. And there have been many campaigns, if you see outside. Many campaigns, many communities, many non-government organizations that aims to lift awareness because the concern is real, that people often neglect their mental health, that it's okay to see a doctor when we are physically unwell, but it's seen as an embarrassment to see mental health professionals when we struggle in life. And having this misconception can really stop people from getting the help that they really need. And seeing people coming to art therapy, I see that them coming to sessions are not signs of sickness or weakness, but indicators of strength and survivals. And I can see that throughout time, despite whatever life throws at us, human beings are brave, forgiving, and resilient. And everyone faces challenges every day. You, me, all of us, and we all cope differently. Thus, I would like to invite you to take a second look at your mental health and ask yourself, have I had enough and good coping skills? How and who is my support system? What is my contribution to the community? Have I done enough self-care? And one way to gain personal insight is through image making. And art making is not only for artistic people, and definitely not only for children. Making creation has been part of human being, and art has been around since the caveman period. So doodle and explore. Draw someone you love, visualize your dream, make a sculpture. Have fun exploring and discovering yourself. Get in touch with your inner self and find out more about who you are. I hope that this sharing is insightful and that we all learn to take better care of ourselves, both physically and mentally. Thank you.